One back tuning into today's video. I've got more unsettled weather coming up over the Christmas period. Very wet and stormy today. It's going to be stormy in the north tomorrow. More severe gales and heavy rain sweeping in on Friday as well. We will have a quieter couple of days on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. We'll have a look at the longer range charts as well in a moment. See what may happen as we head out into January. Now, before I get on with the video, just to talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at GazWebBiz.com. If you press play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazWebBiz.com. Thanks so much for doing that. Gav Shop is open, but won't be. It'll be closing tomorrow, so it's just open for one more day, and then I'll be shutting it tomorrow. Thanks so much for your support over the last few weeks. Doing your Christmas shopping at Amazon and helping to support GazWebBiz.com. It does make a very big difference. And I'll say you've still got a few more hours to do Christmas shopping through Gav Shop, or well, it's too late for Christmas shopping now, really, isn't it? But to do any shopping that you want to do through Gav Shop, you can still do it, but I'll be closing it tomorrow. So this is the radar picture for today, right now, 12:30, and very, very wet across many parts of the country. The British Isles is under there, but huge amounts of rainfall sweeping in off the Atlantic, and that rain's going to keep going pretty much for the next 12 to 16 hours across many southern parts of the countries, South Wales, southern England, South Midlands, East Anglia, South East England. It is going to be on now for the rest of today and into tonight as well. Very significant wet spell coming up. This is today's pressure chart with the low pressure just to the west of Scotland. Very tight packed ice bars across England and Wales, so that's where the worst of the rain is. That's where the worst of the wind and where the worst of the rain is today. The rain should clear through further north quite quickly, but for England and Wales that rain will be on for most of the day, accompanied by this very strong to gale force southwesterly wind. Gusts of wind easily up 50 or 60 miles an hour. Some excuse me, some southern and southwestern parts of the country cooking up to 70 or 80 miles an hour. Now tonight the worst of the winds will transfer to the far southeast, where we could get winds gusting up to 80 miles an hour. That's as a cold front moves across and moves that rain out into the North Sea. So as we go through to Christmas Eve, 6 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve, the worst of the wind and rain will be clearing the southeast, but then Scotland and Northern Ireland will be getting a battering from this next area of low pressure. 930 millibar area of low pressure is very close to the all-time record, not quite there at 925 millibars, so it's not quite at record, but it's a very, very deep area of low pressure, and that is going to give a real battering to Scotland and Northern Ireland through the course of Christmas Eve itself. Really tightly packed ice bars with gusts of wind easily up to 80 or 90 miles an hour, maybe more in the far west and southwest. And the worst winds go on through Scotland in towards 6 o'clock in the evening on Christmas Eve. Things will be a little bit better by then across England and Wales. So a very, very rough few hours coming up, 24 hours, a little bit more than that for northern parts of the country. And then as we move through into Friday, we're going to do it all over again with another battering from an area of low pressure sweeping in. Not sure the winds will be quite as bad as they are going to be in the next 24 hours on Friday, but it's certainly going to be a very stormy and wet spell on Friday as well. Of course, with the rainfall totals clocking up, well, we are going to be looking at some very significant rainfall totals indeed, with risk of some flooding. So is this going to go on as we move through into January? Let's have a look at the JMA model. This updated on Friday, and because I was a little bit poorly on Friday, I didn't do the update, but I thought I'd just catch up with it now. This is 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period is from the 19th to the 26th of December, so in the week that we're currently in. Very hard to make out the British Isles there, but we are just there where I'm highlighting. And we're under a very, very deep trough of low pressure. So it's hardly surprising that it's so unsettled, because you can see it here, what's going on. A really strong jet stream screaming across the Atlantic into Europe. A deep trough of low pressure sitting around the country. That's about as unsettled as it can get, and that's a pretty good representation in terms of the 500 millibar height anomaly of the week we're currently in. The next week takes us from the 27th of December to the 2nd of January, and no great change really, although the trough isn't quite as deep and the jet stream isn't quite as strong. So it's staying very unsettled through to the new year, certainly with low pressure dominating, but I think we'll perhaps lose the potential for those storms. We won't get quite the significant wind and rain events beyond the 27th that we're getting leading up to 27th through the current period. Even so, it's a very unsettled end to 2013 and start 2014 in all probability, with winds very much off the Atlantic. And then going out to the final 2 week period, which takes us from the 2nd to the 16th of January, then we see a change. We see, well, we've still got the blue colours there, below average heights around the British Isles. That's the British Isles just there. We do still have those blue colours, but what's happening is that the trough is elongating to the south of the British Isles. We've got high pressure building up to the northeast. So I think that's a colder scenario as we go through the first half of January. It's also not as unsettled, although the trough is still dominating, so there will be unsettled weather at times. It certainly isn't the deep, sort of stormy weather that we've got going on at the moment, and the unsettled conditions that we're going to keep to the very end of the year. But jet stream isn't anywhere near as strong coming across the Atlantic, so we should lose the storms. I said this in the video yesterday. I think we will probably lose the storms as we move through into the start of the new year, as we move into January. Staying unsettled but turning colder, and what you're going to find with this, I think, with time, is that winds will increasingly come from the north and possibly even start to come from the northeast. This area of high pressure begins to impact us up to the northeast of the country. That could start to turn winds more into the northeast. So it's by no means certain that we're going to keep it very mild going into January. I think the signal there from the JMA model is that we could well turn it colder as we move through into next month. Interesting that the CFS this morning, 500 millibar height anomaly from the website webweb.net, is also seeing a very similar sort of 500 millibar height through January. This is the anomaly this morning for January, and again we've got that trough elongating through the British Isles and going to the south. With time that trough may become cut off to the south of the country. Got this ridge again sitting up to the north and the northeast, so again what could happen over time through January is this trough could become cut off to the south, and this ridge up to the north and the northeast could settle down into Scandinavia, and between the two we could eventually start to pull in much colder north easterly, maybe easterly winds across the country. It's just something to keep at the back of the mind, that despite the fact we've had a very mild December and unsettled December, January could be quite different, and we're going to have to keep an eye on it, I think, how things play out as we move through January. There's some interesting things going on with the stratosphere at the moment as well that could impact January's weather conditions. So just having a very quick look at the generic charts. This is Friday. The deep area of low pressure to the northwest of the country, bringing another battering of gales and strong heavy rain, strong winds, gales, severe gales across the country. That lasts into Saturday as well. As we move out into Sunday, another area of low pressure is trying to come in, but I don't think this one gives us quite the severe gales that we have through Friday. So it will bring another bout of wind and rain across the country, but I don't think it'll be the severe weather conditions that can get at the end of the week. And then that low pressure sort of sits around the country as we go up towards the new year. And beyond that, it starts to push off to the east. And then we're starting to get a bit of a ridge of high pressure developing out to the northwest of the country. This could be the start of things getting a little bit colder as we move through in towards the first week of January. And we have an area of high pressure, ridge of high pressure developing to the north of the country on the 2nd of January, 10 days away. That looks quite tentative. That high pressure is very weak, and you expect this next area of low pressure to very quickly collapse that as it moves in off the Atlantic. But on this particular run of the GFS model, it doesn't, and we do keep it quite cold actually. Going out to Friday the 3rd of January. Yet we do keep quite cold conditions going with that ridge of high pressure still blocking to the north of the country. I think that's a bit overdone. I think that's too progressive. I would be looking at more around, say, the 10th of January for when we'd probably start settling into a colder pattern. I think the first week of January may be reasonably mild, not as mild as we've had in December, and still quite unsettled. That's what the E7WF is showing this morning. There's the battering on Friday into Saturday from that storm system. And then it keeps it unsettled as we move through to the new year. This chart for New Year's Eve. Another area of low pressure coming through. Again, not quite as severe, but still wet and windy across the country. And moving out today, 10, the 2nd of January. Low pressure is still more or less in control, really. But it's not as stormy as we have at the moment. So I think that's what we're looking towards as we go through towards the end of the year and start of January. We are looking at very stormy conditions for the rest of the Christmas period. As we go out beyond Christmas towards New Year, still staying unsettled, but I think we probably lose the potential for those very severe gales and storm systems sweeping in off the Atlantic into the start of January. And I think eventually we're going to start thinking about it turning colder as we get through to January. Perhaps not a big freeze coming up, but I think we could certainly turn it quite a bit colder and maybe start getting some frost. We haven't had many frost so far this winter, but I think we could start seeing more frost as we move into January, and perhaps some wintry conditions, particularly in the north of the country as well. So could be changes on the way for next month. We're going to be doing weekend forecast tomorrow, looking at the whole of the Christmas week and up to New Year, so come back to that. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.